Hi everyone, my name is Jon Secord. I'm the creator of the EasyNR noise reduction actions that were included with the PhotographingSpace.com action pack. A lot of you are probably familiar with these actions already, but if you're not, basically what the EasyNR actions do is provides an easy one-click solution for removing various levels of noise in your astro images. Those actions do a great job at quickly and easily removing noise from your images, but some of you would probably like a little bit more control over where the noise reduction is being applied. So today we're going to go over the techniques used in those actions on an image of the Milky Way I photographed last summer.
Get more information on this and other astrophotography tips, articles, and tutorials at the PhotographingSpace.com website. And don't forget to sign up for our weekly tips newsletter and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more tutorials and video.
Just a little background info on this photo. I shot this using the Nikon D750 and Tamron 15-30 lens at ISO 10,000, 20mm, f2.8 for 15 seconds. I find that the D750 performs exceptionally well at these higher ISOs, and I'll frequently shoot my astro images at ISO 10,000. Obviously, different cameras perform better than others at these ISOs. For example, my first camera that I used for shooting at night was a Canon 60D, and I found that I couldn't really go above ISO 3200 with that camera before getting unacceptable levels of noise that I couldn't really clean up. So what I would recommend is taking some test frames using your camera at ISO 1600, 3200, 6400, and so on. That way you can compare and see where you're getting acceptable levels of noise. Obviously, you're always going to get some noise in your astro images, but if you go too far, it's very hard to clean that noise up. Even though these techniques do a great job, they're not going to perform magic. So find where your camera is getting acceptable levels of noise and go from there. I've already made a couple quick adjustments to the raw file in Lightroom, so I'm just going to quickly show you why I never use Lightroom's default noise reduction. If I zoom into 100% and slide up the luminance, I can remove the noise from my image, but what that's also going to do is remove all this nice detail in the Milky Way core. Because of this, I never use Lightroom's default noise reduction. I'm going to bring this back down to 0. Right-click on the photo and select Edit in Photoshop CC. So now that I've opened up this image into Photoshop, I've gone in and just quickly added a few curve adjustment layers to add some more contrast to the scene. I'm not going to be going over any of the other processing techniques I'm using for this image, only the noise reduction, but I just wanted to show you what I did to the file. As you can see, I've added a little bit more contrast to the scene. So basically what I'm going to be doing here is duplicating this layer, adding noise reduction to the duplicate layer, and then masking in the noise reduction only where I want it. So let's move on to that. The first step in this process is duplicating your background layer. You can either right-click and select Duplicate Layer, or press Control or Command if you're on a Mac, J. You can double-click to name this Noise Reduction. Making sure that this duplicate layer is selected, you want to go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter. You're going to go into the Detail panel, which is these two little triangles here in the top right. And I like to zoom in to 100% when doing this noise reduction. Next, I'm going to slide up the luminance until I see no more noise in the sky. %, looks like it did a nice job. Just going to hit OK. Now what I'm going to be doing is adding a layer mask to this so that I can apply the noise reduction only to the darker parts of my scene. Noise tends to live in your shadows or darker areas of your photos and not the brights. What I'm going to do, making sure that the noise reduction layer is selected, add a layer mask using this little icon here. What we're going to be using is a technique called Apply Image. What Apply Image does is analyzes your photo and creates a mask for you based on the light values in your scene. Making sure that the layer mask is selected, you're going to go to Image, Apply Image. There's a few different drop-down menus that come up when you open up Apply Image. You want to make sure that these are all left as default and that your blending mode is set to normal. Automatically, Apply Image will generate a mask based on your brights, which is not where the noise is. So you want to make sure this little box, Invert, is selected. Apply Image typically does a fairly good job of figuring out where the noise needs to be removed, but I like to custom tailor this mask based on each image. Now this is where this technique starts to get a little bit more advanced. I'm going to go in and fine-tune this mask so I'm controlling exactly where the noise reduction is being applied. Making sure that I'm clicked on the mask, I'm going to hold Alt or Option key if you're on a Mac and click on the mask. This is showing me exactly where the noise reduction is being applied. Areas of pure white are receiving 100% of that noise reduction. Areas of pure black are receiving no noise reduction. And areas of gray are receiving around 50% of that noise reduction. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Curves. And if I click on this little hand icon and hover over my image, I'm going to try to find an area of sky where there's no stars. This looks good. If I click and hold and drag up, more noise reduction is being applied to these areas as it gets closer to pure white. Now you don't want to go too far with this, otherwise your final image is going to be a little bit too smooth and unnatural looking. This looks fine for me. Now I'm going to find an area of this nebulosity where I want to keep some of this detail and have less noise reduction applied. Let's see. This looks good to me. If I click and hold and drag down, you can see those areas getting darker, which means less noise reduction is being applied. Again, you don't want to go too far with this, otherwise it'll look unnatural. This looks good to me. So I'm going to click OK. Now I can go and click on the layer. This will bring it back to that normal view. And I can zoom in at 100%. Turn this layer on and off. And see how the mask did with fine-tuning that noise reduction. Sometimes you'll have to go back and repeat this step. I'm pretty happy with the results I'm getting. Let me quickly just zoom in on the lake here and just make sure that the noise reduction is good. So say I want a little bit more noise reduction being applied just to the lake. I can go back, again holding Alt or Option, click on the mask, and select a white brush. There's not a lot of detail that I'd like to keep in the lake. Even the stars with some noise reduction being applied, because they're reflecting off the lake, they really shouldn't be that sharp. So I'm going to brush in with a white brush to add some more noise reduction to the lake. I'm going to start at about 50% opacity and just brush this stuff in. And again, if I just click on the layer, bring it back to that normal view, and zoom into 100%. That did a nice job at removing some of that noise. Now I'm definitely happy with this. What I'm going to do Now that I'm finished with the noise reduction, is hold Shift and click to select both of these layers and select Merge Layers so that I have a master file that I can now make any final adjustments to. Now just to show you a quick comparison between this technique and using something like Nik Define, which I know a lot of people like to use for their astro images, I've run the starting image both through my technique and through Define. I'm going to zoom into 100% here and show you the difference. So this was using my technique, and this was using Define. Now, Define has done a great job at removing the noise, but it's also smoothed out all of these nice details I'd like to keep. I came up with this method a little over a year ago, and I've been using it for all my images since. I find that it works better than any other noise reduction technique that I've found at preserving detail while smoothing out the noise for a nice clean final image. Now if you don't feel like taking these extra steps for doing noise reduction in your images, the actions included in the PhotographingSpace.com action pack do a great job at providing an easy, one-click solution to removing noise from your astro images. I've included varying levels of noise reduction in those actions, so they should work on the majority of your astro images. However, if you'd like a little bit more control over where that noise reduction is being applied, this technique will work great for preserving detail and removing noise where you want it. It seems a bit confusing at first, but after doing it on a few images, you'll be able to get this technique down and finished in just a minute or two per photo. I hope this helps. Happy shooting, and thank you.
Get more information on this and other astrophotography tips, articles, and tutorials at the PhotographingSpace.com website. And don't forget to sign up for our weekly tips newsletter and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more tutorials and video.